Hello, and welcome to episode 182 of Prog Review. And today I'm going to talk about Operation Mindcrime from Queensryche. Put my teeth in. If you can hear any panting coming from the corner, it's Alex the Wonder Dog. It's very warm today, and he's got the huffs and the puffs. Yes, indeed. But enough of that. This is the third album from the American heavy metal band, and it sees them embracing the concept album with gusto. It was released on the 3rd of May 1988, and the album has been critically lauded and even managed to spawn a sequel. Funny enough, it was released only a month after Iron Maiden put out their concept album, Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, which I've already looked at. Go back and find it in the list. It opens with the sounds of a busy hospital, possibly a mental hospital, who knows. And it's I Remember Now. It sets the scene with the protagonist called Nicky. He's coming round from a coma and he's having a flash flood of memories. And this leads us right into the instrumental track Anarchy X, it complete with military style drumming and lots of heavy power chords. And this short instrumental piece seeks straight into revolution chording with even more staccato drums, and then the squealing guitars hit, and you're introduced to Nicky's plight. He's disgusted with politics and the media, and he falls under the spell of a political organisation headed by the mysterious Dr. X. And it's typically 1980s heavy metal, but it's still infinitely more memorable than anything Dream Theater committed to tape with their Scenes from a Memory album. I'm still having a go at that one. Now, the funny thing is the sentiment contained in this song is still pertinent today, all these years later. So no matter how much things change, they essentially stay the same. Operation Mindcrime opens with the telephone ringing, ding ding, and being answered by our hero Nicky, and the word Mindcrime is uttered. Now, this is the trigger word that puts him into a murderous hypnotic trance, which has been done by the mysterious Dr. X. He has this hold over him, and he's been reprogrammed as a hitman for this political sect, revolutionary sect, I guess that's what you'd call them. Don't think they've got a name. Again, musically, this is standard heavy metal fare with lots of solos flying around. It has suitably crunchy power chords punctuating the action. Again, musically, this album is very much of its time, so I'm not really going to dwell on that. I'm just going to talk about the concept, because this is, like the Iron Maiden album, a heavy metal album, and you know what to expect from a heavy metal album now. It's all and it's got all that, and it's got everything. It's all there. It's a bit dated, but we'll forgive them for that. Now, this is followed by Speak, which another call to arms explains the philosophy of this revolutionary cult and how they intend to redress the balance of power by murderous means. Is this the right way of going about things, one asks? Now, the line in the lyrics about burning the White House down would probably say, it shocked me. It did, it shocked me. And it's kind of a comment on today rather than back then, because today it would probably be censored or end up with the band in prison for terrorist crimes. But it does actually show how things have changed in like 25 years. Back then we had more freedom of speech. Nowadays you've got to be careful what you say, especially on the Twitter and the YouTubes and that. You end up in prison for saying a lot less. Spreading the disease introduces us to the character of Sister Mary and the corrupt Father William. Apparently he takes Mary on the altar like a sacrifice every week. Oh, matron, nothing or sauce. Yeah, indeed, this paints Father William as a very bad egg indeed, and I suppose he's the physical manifestation of everything that Nicky and his political group despises. So this character's he's a bad un. But enough of him. So yeah, the effect of these clandestine missions of murder are explained in the song The Mission. And of course, he suffers terribly. He has a conscience, even though he's hypnotised and has various drugs to get him through. He's still suffering with a conscience. And the only person who can get our protagonist through these missions is indeed Sister Mary. But despite his reservations, he still believes that the murders are changing the world. They're going to change everything. However, his love affair with Sister Mary is cut short when the mysterious Dr. X, played by veteran British actor Anthony Valentine, instructs him to kill her and Father William. You see, Dr. X realises the influence that Sister Mary has over his hypnotised hitman and wants her out of the equation. He wants total control over him. So, now by halfway through the album, it's getting into pure melodrama, but it's quite an interesting, engaging story. And it gives it an interesting twist. And I also enjoyed that the instructions, the line, is given from the window of a limousine, complete with suitable sound effects. It's very filmic, very cinematic, the way they do the sound effects and everything. So, full marks for that. This is followed by Sweet Sister Mary. And it's the longest piece on the album. It's 10 minutes 40 seconds long. Starts with Unholy Choir doing their thing, and is suitably dramatic as the piece tells the story of the murder of Father William. And the song is kept ambiguous as to whether Nicky actually kills Sister Mary or not. She ends up dead, but we don't know if it's by his hand or by someone else's. But it does feature the vocal talent of Pamela Moore. She plays Sister Mary, and then when you hear them, the two singers duetting with each other, you realise this comes more across as rock opera than a concept album. It's quite good. You could imagine it on stage. And I do think on my research, I read that they did actually do like a stage version of it. The dramatic reenactment of it. So it would have been interesting to see. After this track, the album picks up the pace with The Needle Lies, which is a clever little song because it can be used as a standalone anti-drugs message, or it can relate to the chemical experiments that Dr. X has been performing on our boy Nicky, in order to get him to perform as the hitman. It's typically fast-paced heavy metal with a memorable sing-along chorus. And then the album takes an even darker turn. Can it get any darker with all this murder and mayhem? With the short track Electric Requiem. And I think it's about the benefits of electroconvulsive therapy. I'm not sure. Something about turning on the current. I don't know what it's about. Again, some of these songs are ambiguous, and I'm reading the lyrics, and I don't know, you draw meaning the best you can. This is followed by quite a peppy Breaking the Silence, but unfortunately it's a sad song. He's sad because he's dealing with the loss of Sister Mary, and the lead character finds himself gradually unravelling and running adrift and convinced himself that he did the murder, that he did it. But I don't think he did. I think Dr. X did it. I think that's what we can gather from the story. This is followed by I Don't Believe in Love, and this was actually one of the single cuts from the album, and it's a big, bold love song. And it wouldn't be out of place on one of those compilation albums you see advertised, big heavy metal hair hits of the 80s. That should exist if it doesn't. It does nothing for me to move the story along, and it actually kind of sticks out like a sore dick at an orgy, on the album. It's like, what am I doing here sort of thing. I didn't think it worked. It could have been left off a good B-side or something. Waiting for 22 is a rather short twin guitar led instrumental which leads straight into My Empty Room, which is, again, these songs are only about 1 minute 30. They're very short, and the hero again is locked up in his room, tormented by the murders, with no one there to absolve him of his sins, to ease his conscience. So he's tortured. And the finale is Eyes of a Stranger, in which is actually was also the first single taken from the album, which I thought was quite unusual. As we hear sounds of the hospital again, we're back at the beginning. We're actually back at the beginning of the narrative, because Nicky's still in hospital and he's remembering how he got into predicament. Because again, this album is told in semi-flashback. It's not done sequentially. We're actually being told this story in flashback. The beginning, everything's already happened, and then he tells us. Yeah, trust me, that's how it works. I mean, as an album, I found it quite good fun. I did enjoy it, and it works better than Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, because you do have a coherent narrative being told. Although they do play around with the listener with the story being told in flashback. It could be a little bit confusing. The music's okay, it's not my kind of album. When it comes to heavy metal, I'm more of an Iron Maiden fan, but I can see how Maiden have influenced Queensryche And it makes sense why this album was a big hit in the UK before it was a big hit on their home turf. It's got a kind of British sensibility about it. So when it comes to a rating, I'm going to give this a very healthy 4 Dr. X's out of 5. Yes, that's 4 Dr. X's out of 5, because it does work better than Seventh Son of Seventh Son. And if you think back at the time, it was a very brave album to release, because concept albums were terminally unhip, and still like meat and potatoes for prog rock artists. The way Maiden released a concept album, it isn't really a concept album. There's no real sound effects or linking elements, whereas Queensryche really did it. They really created a concept album, whereas Seventh Son you could still say it's not, because you've just got this very thin narrative running through it, whereas they were brave enough to do the whole thing properly. So that's it. My name's been Darren Locke. I've been talking about Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Do the whole social media thing. We'll do that again. Sit on my Facebook, tickle me Twitter, and you can do what you like with me Google Plus, because I don't know what the hell to do with it. And that's it. Next one, it'll probably be Passengers. Yeah, Passengers, I think. And then we'll try and get a bit more proggy after that. Only one more thing to say, and that is Mindcrime.